Okay, so this is a quick guide on how to clean out your thumb trigger. So what we're going to need is obviously your release aid. We've got a couple of thumb triggers here. We've got a Merlin or a Maibo Mac V1, which was my normal release aid for quite some time, but has since been replaced with this, which is a Scott Exus core. So we've got two different ones because one's made by a UK manufacturer and uses the metric system, and one made by an American manufacturer which uses the imperial system. Now, there's not that much of a difference between them, however, you're going to need the right Allen wrenches for them. So what you're also going to need as well is just a few cotton buds. I'm not going to be using anything particularly harsh on these because, to be honest, they're fairly finely tuned machines anyway. So what we now need is literally just open your case up. Just a couple of Allen screws here, so we've got one down near the thumb trigger. One up here near the hook. And just get rid of that. And one down here. Oops. Near the bottom of the fingers. Right. Okay, so once we've got those sorted, what we need to do now is open your release aid. So a couple of different ways of doing this. You've got this little gap here, you can just squeeze there, push it open, and the whole thing should pop open. Now, do you want to be careful at this point because there are a few springs inside here. As you can see, we've got one that controls the trigger tension, we've got one that controls the cocking arm, and we've got this little fella that's popped out, which is the middle shank. This is the one I was talking about. That one always tends to pop out. It doesn't matter what kind of release aid you've got unless there's a peg that's holding it in. So what else do we need to do? Well, sometimes if you dropped your release aid, you might have a bit of water or something on there. That's no problem, just wipe that off with a towel. But if you've had a little bit of an accident, as in a whoops, my release aid just went down range at 60 miles per hour kind of accident, you've probably got some mud and stuff in here. Now, the main place this is actually going to come is at this top hook here, which is the part that's actually hooking onto your release aid. Now this bit's quite simple actually. Literally just pull that fella off, pop the whole release down, and then take one of your cotton buds and literally just give it a bit of a rub. So this release aid is actually quite old, and as you can see, my camera will cooperate. No, it's not going to. Right. There's quite a lot of dirt that's come off of this anyway, because it has had a few mishaps when I was first shooting compound. So, literally, give it the once over, and that's fine. Now, what you might see is this little peg here. This is the one that actually holds the hook in, and usually comes out. What you might find, if you had a really bad time, you might get a little bit of dirt just in here where the hole is, or on the other side of the case, just here where this hole is. There we go. Same deal, use the cotton bud. The reason why we're using cotton buds and not pieces of tissue, cotton tends to clean up quite easily, and you've got a bit of stick there, so you can just give it a bit of a shake around. So, once we've done that, sometimes it might be the case that you've had a really bad day and you've got some dirt down here. Now, if the spring has come out, then what you can do is just pop this middle sear out and give that a bit of a clean. You'll probably find it's only going to be up here, just where the top of the sear is. You're going to have had a really, really bad day if you managed to get any dirt or anything on further than that. So clean that out. Same thing with the little peg that just went for a fly. And then just reassembling it is just a case of pop the parts back in. Those, and then we've got our little spring. Now, what you do need to make sure is that you can account for all the springs and all of the screws, because if you've got one that's missing, chances are your release isn't going to work afterwards. With all release aids, there's a bit of a knack to getting the springs back in as well, which can take some time, or can take about no time at all. And the problem with the Merlin ones, or sorry, the My Boat ones, is that this middle spring isn't held in with anything. So you can't find it takes a little bit of persuasion to get in properly. What you can do as well is, if you've got a pair of tweezers, grab hold of those, squeeze it in, and then drop the spring in place. Now, same thing is true of this hook, so pop the hook and the sear in, post goes in the hole, make sure you've got a nice bit of movement there. And close it back up, and then just pop your 3 screws back in and just verify that your release aid actually cocks and fires normally. So that's Merlin V1 all sorted. So next thing we have is just the Scott Nexus cord. This is a little bit more complicated because it does have an extension piece. This little stainless steel thing here. But generally speaking, it's not going to give you that much more hassle. It is an Imperial one, so if you're living outside of the US, you'll probably find that you might have a metric one, or if you bought from a company that's outside the US, you'll have a metric one. So exactly the same thing as with the other release aid, except for this time we're just going to pop that piece out of there. It's not 100% necessary, however, sometimes the screws, particularly on the Scott ones, they do go all the way through the release aid and come in the other side. As you can see, that's the side that the screws are held in, and that's where they come out the other side. So you do need to take out that tail piece just so you can get the release aid open, but in terms of disassembly and reassembly, it's exactly the same as the My Boat one. So, and that's basically just how you take apart a thumb trigger and clean it and reassemble it. Now, the only thing you might want to do is, if you haven't shot your release aid for quite some time, you might want to get a tiny little bit of lubricant on each of the axles. You don't need a huge amount. It is a very small amount that you'd need. Most people wouldn't need it. You'd probably go through the release aid before you actually need to lubricate it. And obviously, if you do see any rust on the axles, chances are you might be able to deal with that using your favourite rust removal agent. But if not, it might be a case of looking for a new release aid. Thanks.